I only sat in my son's passenger seat, and his girlfriend actually threw a fit at me. Could you learn some boundaries? The passenger seat is for the girlfriend. You know that, right? Or do you have some weird intentions toward my boyfriend? Even if you're his mother, you should know when to keep your distance. I immediately forwarded the chat to my son and told him to handle it. I never expected him to say, "Since Chinkin already told you, please listen to her from now on. Don't sit in my passenger seat anymore and don't put me in the middle." Fine. That's perfect. If you want boundaries, let's make them crystal clear. I won't sit in your passenger seat and I won't claim you as my son either. That limited edition luxury car cost 2 million yuan. I had paid for it in full as his birthday gift just last month, and now it had become his private ride for impressing that arrogant woman. Without hesitating, I pulled out my phone, called my personal assistant, and gave the coldest orders in the calmest voice. Cancel every supplementary credit card under Fang Yu's name. Notify property management and revoke his access to the mountaintop villa immediately. My assistant carried out the order without delay. When Operation Successful appeared on my screen, the ache in my heart was replaced by pure ice and resolve. It had been 20 years. After my husband died in a work-related accident, I built a massive business empire on my own, then poured every bit of my wealth into Fang Yu. Everything he wore, ate, and used matched the lifestyle of an elite heir. I naively thought the best material life would turn him into a responsible man. Reality slapped me hard. He grew into a useless parasite who lived off me, then trampled his own mother just to please a vain, greedy woman. Chinkin reeked of cheap perfume, and every so-called designer outfit she wore was a badly made fake. One look was enough to see her greed and her plan to climb the social ladder through a man. My foolish son treated that lying fake socialite like a priceless treasure. I got into the backseat of my car and coldly told the driver to return to group headquarters. In high school, he hated cafeteria food, so I bought a luxury apartment and hired a Michelin-level private chef. In college, he demanded to study abroad, so I dropped a major acquisition, handled everything myself, and made a huge donation to an elite school. When he came home and complained that working was exhausting, I let him lounge around the house and deposited 300,000 yuan into his account every single month. Today's passenger seat drama ripped apart the illusion of our loving mother-son relationship. Since he could discard his own mother for an outsider, I would gladly bless his ridiculous romance. I would make him understand that everything he had came from me. I could raise him to the clouds and I could drop him into the mud just as quickly. Back in the chairwoman's office, I summoned the core finance and legal teams and issued my orders in an icy voice. Audit every asset under Fang Yu's name. Begin lawful recovery of every property and vehicle I paid for. Freeze every trust, fund, and investment account tied to the group and reveal nothing to him. Tell every manager across our businesses to cancel Fang Yu's free spending privileges. From now on, he pays full price everywhere. No tabs, no credit. The legal director recorded every demand with a grave expression. The conference room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The finance director opened an encrypted laptop and logged into the fund management system. The system quickly located 3 major spending accounts under Fang Yu's name. With a few crisp keystrokes, every channel feeding his lavish lifestyle was cut off within minutes. The legal team urgently drafted asset separation documents to block Fang Yu from gaining any legal access to the group's core holdings. I watched his assets turn red and freeze on the screen without feeling a thing. Today he could throw me out of a car for a stranger. Tomorrow he could throw me out of my own home for the inheritance. I had to remove this poison at the root. After handling everything else, I kept my personal assistant behind, dig up everything on Chinkin. I want her real education history and every debt under her name. My assistant nodded and left immediately to launch a full background investigation into Chinkin. Just as expected, less than 15 minutes later, my private phone lit up. Fang Yu's name flashed non-stop, and the vibration sounded especially harsh in the silent office. I gave a cold laugh and leaned back, letting the phone buzz for a full 2 minutes before answering slowly. Fang Yu's furious complaints exploded through the speaker. "Mom, what are you doing?" I took Chinkin to one of our luxury malls to buy her a 1,000,000 yuan diamond necklace, and the cashier said my black card was canceled. Do you know how humiliating that was in front of her and the store manager? Unfreeze it now so I can pay. His entitled outrage left me too exhausted even to get angry. He never asked how I was, and he had no idea that only hours earlier, his cruel attitude had shattered his mother's heart. All he cared about was his fragile pride and the expensive jewelry Chinkin wanted. I sipped my stone-cold coffee and replied in a voice so calm it surprised even me. "Fang Yu, since you told me to learn boundaries, stop shamelessly spending the money I earned." I opened my settings and blocked every way he could contact me. As the dead tone sounded, the weight that had crushed my chest for 20 years finally broke apart. I turned our warm family photo face down without hesitation. Fang Yu was used to taking endlessly from me. He had no idea how fast his fragile world of luxury would collapse once I cut off the money. He also had no idea how quickly his calculating girlfriend would show her true face after learning he was broke. For the first time, I felt completely free, as if heavy chains had fallen away and I could finally breathe. I sat behind my large mahogany desk, reviewing the group's latest quarterly reports. The office door opened softly, and my personal assistant approached with a fresh surveillance report. The full asset freeze I had ordered had already closed around Fang Yu like a steel net with no gaps. My assistant said that after I hung up, Fang Yu could no longer play rich at the luxury mall. He left in humiliation with an angry Qin, took the cheapest rideshare, and headed straight for my mountaintop villa. He naively believed that returning to the mansion where he had lived for 20 years would restore his carefree life as a spoiled heir. He had no idea that the home that once sheltered him had already shut its doors for good. I closed my eyes and could picture him stranded outside the gate. Mountaintop Villa stood in the city's wealthiest district, with security tighter than a private vault. Fang Yu marched to the gate with Qin and pressed his finger to the scanner as usual. A cold system alert sounded, but the heavy bronze doors did not move. He tried several fingers and even pounded the scanner, only to get flashing red lights. Qin's face darkened when she saw that Fang Yu could not even enter his own home. She had planned to tour the mansion and establish herself as its future lady, but instead they stood outside in the cold like two people with nowhere to go. Just as Fang Yu was about to start yelling, several muscular security officers stepped out. They were highly paid veterans I had personally hired, and they followed only my orders. Their leader looked at him without a trace of respect. The chairwoman has formally revoked all of your access. This villa is her personal property. Effective immediately, you are permanently barred from entering. Please leave with your companion and stop disrupting the community. Fang Yu's face turned dark red. The great young master of the Fang family was being thrown out by security in public. To him, that humiliation felt worse than death. Trying to save face in front of Qin, he shouted, "I'm the Fang family's only heir. This villa will be mine sooner or later." The lead guard ignored his tantrum, pulled out a heavy black trash bag, and dropped it at Fang Yu's feet like actual garbage. "Mr. Fang, the chairwoman asked us to pack some of your personal clothes." He pointed at the bag. Fang Yu stared at the cheap black plastic and felt the last of his dignity being crushed beneath everyone's feet. Qin's elegant act instantly fell apart. She yanked her hand away when Fang Yu tried to touch her and shrieked like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "Fang Yu, didn't you say this villa was yours? Didn't you say I could move in any time? You can't even get through the gate. You're a liar. I don't care how you do it. I want the mansion and the housewarming gift you promised today, or we're done." "Qin, please don't be mad. My mom is just angry and trying to scare me. I swear I won't break my promise. I'll find money right now and buy you the most expensive bag you want." Qin crossed her arms, lifted her chin, and temporarily withdrew her breakup threat. A woman like her never let go until she had drained the last drop from her target. She wanted Fang Yu desperate enough to sacrifice everything so she could keep taking. Fang Yu pulled Qin toward the road, frantically calculating how to get a large sum fast. His bank cards were frozen, and his sports car was locked in the garage. The only thing left he could sell was the limited edition watch on his wrist. I had bought that watch through a top overseas auction house for his birthday last year. He used to wear it to elite parties and bask in everyone's envy. Now the luxury symbol of his rich heir status was his final lifeline for pleasing Qin. Back in my office, I listened to my assistant's report with a cold smile. Every move Fang Yu made, even every shift in his thinking, was exactly as I expected. Once the money was gone and Qin demanded gifts, I knew he would try to sell his valuables. I lifted my coffee, took a small sip, and gave another order with a cold smile. Notify every luxury resale shop and major pawn shop in the city. Shut down Fang Yu's selling channels. Whatever treasure he brings in, offer him the lowest possible price. My assistant left at once to tighten the net. The Fang family's businesses controlled over 70% of the city's luxury resale market. With one word from me, Fang Yu could hold a mountain of gold and still fail to buy half a loaf of bread. Half an hour later, Fang Yu and Qin walked breathlessly into a lavish pre-owned watch center. The owner was one of the business partners I had quietly supported. Fang Yu forced himself to look calm, slammed the watch onto the glass counter, and tried to hide his penniless desperation behind his old spoiled heir arrogance. "Boss, my mom paid over 3 million yuan for this discontinued watch last year. All the papers are here and I've barely worn it. I need quick cash, 2.5 million firm. Transfer it and take the watch." The owner sat on a leather sofa without even looking up. He had already received my strict order to show Fang Yu no courtesy. He took a sip of tea and said, "It's a fine watch, but the resale market is terrible right now. Besides, everyone knows Chairwoman Fang cut you off. The most I can offer is 200,000 yuan, and that's only out of respect for her." Fang Yu nearly fainted at the number. A watch worth over 3 million, and they would not even offer a fraction. It felt like open robbery. He pointed at the owner and cursed. "Are you out of your mind? This is a limited edition watch, and you're offering only 200,000? You think you can butcher me because I'm down? Not a chance. I'm not selling. You're not the only shop in town. Someone else will pay a real price." The owner gave a contemptuous laugh and tossed the watch back into Fang Yu's arms like a worthless piece of scrap metal. "Young Master Fang, since you have so much pride, turn left outside and try your luck elsewhere. But here's a friendly warning. The entire industry has received a joint notice to blacklist you." At the words joint blacklist, Fang Yu's knees nearly gave out. He finally realized that without his powerful mother, he could not even turn his own watch into emergency cash. Qin watched him get humiliated, and the disgust in her eyes deepened. She slapped his arm and snapped, Why are you just standing there? 200,000 is still money. Take it and buy my housewarming gift. If you can't even get that much, I'm leaving right now, and you'll never see me again. Faced with Chinkin's final ultimatum, Fang Yu gave up. He lowered his head and signed the transfer agreement in humiliation. The 200,000 yuan soon landed in his temporary account. To an ordinary person, it was a fortune. To Fang Yu, it was less than what he once spent on a few bottles of premium liquor. Carrying money bought with his dignity and a massive loss, he took Chinkin straight to the city's top luxury mall. Chinkin did not care what Fang Yu had sacrificed. She cared only about what she could get. At a global luxury boutique, she chose a limited edition handbag priced at 180,000 yuan, and Fang Yu paid through clenched teeth. When he saw only 20,000 yuan left in the account, his heart bled. He foolishly believed the expensive bag would calm Chinkin and save the love he treasured. But Chinkin's greed was a bottomless pit. Holding her new designer bag, she smiled for only a moment. Then she linked arms with Fang Yu and began planning her next demand as they walked out. She knew he had been completely cut off and needed a new opportunity before he went fully bankrupt. Fang Yu, your mom canceled your cards, but you're still the Fang family's only son. She won't truly abandon you. There's a top business summit next week and she'll attend. We'll dress up, go there, and force her to acknowledge me in front of the city's elite. If we cause a public scene, she'll surrender to protect the group's reputation. Chinkin's scheme was vicious. She wanted not only to drain Fang Yu, but to climb higher by stepping on the face of a trillion yuan group chairwoman. Blinded by her sweet talk, Fang Yu thought it was the perfect counterattack. He never realized she was digging his grave. He still dreamed of forcing me to surrender control of the group so he could keep living lavishly with that vain woman. I watched the latest surveillance video from my assistant, then shut off the screen. They had taken the bait and were about to jump willingly into my trap. That was exactly what I wanted. I would let Fang Yu experience total public disgrace at the event he cared about most. Since Chinkin wanted the spotlight at the business summit, I would give it to her. I would let every powerful figure in the city see the true face of the woman trying to scheme her way into my fortune. This was more than a fight between mother and son. It was Fang Yu's final lesson. The show had only begun, and the real storm would explode at the summit. Morning sunlight spilled through the windows onto the mahogany desk at group headquarters. I sipped coffee while reading the invitation to the city's most prestigious business summit. It gathered the most powerful figures in town and served as the Fang family's annual home stage. My assistant said Fang Yu and Chinkin had visited several formal wear rental shops the night before. Using his last private savings, he rented an outdated fake designer suit and a cheap gown covered in loose threads. I laughed softly and tapped the desk. Those two clowns really planned to stage a public rebellion at the city's biggest summit. Since they wanted a spectacle, I would build them the grandest stage possible. I told my assistant to issue them 2 family guest passes and reserve 2 highly visible seats near the main section. I wanted the city's elite to see exactly how ridiculous my ungrateful son and his delusional girlfriend were. That evening, luxury cars crowded the hotel entrance and camera flashes lit up the night. Wearing a handmade custom gown, I entered surrounded by guests, while powerful executives bowed and greeted me at every step. Meanwhile, Fang Yu and Chinkin hid in a remote corner, nervously adjusting their rented clothes. Chinkin straightened her back, her heavily made-up face full of confidence. Fang Yu, make sure you yell "Mom" loudly so every reporter points a camera at us. Beg her forgiveness in public and say I'm joining the Fang family. She'll never dare refuse on camera and risk the stock price or family reputation. Don't worry, Chinkin. My mom cares more about appearances than anything. Once we apologize publicly, she'll give my cards back. Then I'll buy you 2 of those necklaces. The host announced the summit, and I stepped onto the stage to thunderous applause. Just as I prepared to give my opening speech, Fang Yu dragged Chinkin out of the crowd, pushed past staff, and dropped to his knees below the stage. Mom, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have talked back to you because of Chinkin, but I truly love her. She's pregnant with a Fang family child. Are you really going to leave your own grandchild homeless over a passenger seat? The room erupted. Reporters swarmed like sharks scenting blood, aiming every camera at Fang Yu and Chinkin. She posed like a pregnant woman and let the media run wild. I watched coldly from the stage. They were certain I would surrender to protect the family name, but they underestimated the composure I had built over 20 years in business. I looked down at the 2 clowns, switched off the microphone, and spoke so only they could hear. Fang Yu, are you sure the child in her belly belongs to the Fang family? Did all my education fail to teach you how to recognize a basic lie? Fang Yu froze, then begged even louder. Mom, why would I joke about this? Chin told me herself that she's 2 months pregnant. That's your grandchild. The whispers grew louder, and several rivals smiled as if watching a show. To them, this was not just a wealthy family scandal, but a chance to shake my entire company. I turned and gave my assistant a look. Within 30 seconds, the corporate video disappeared. Clear medical records and hotel security images filled the screen, documenting Chinkin's frequent visits to several private maternity hospitals over the past 3 months. The conclusion was obvious. Years of extreme dieting and physical strain had left Chinkin with a very low chance of conceiving. Even worse, the hotel images showed her drinking and behaving intimately with another man. I switched the microphone back on. My calm, commanding voice filled every corner of the hall. Fellow business leaders, I'm sorry you had to witness this farce. The Fang family values integrity, and I will never tolerate anyone trying to enter our family through fraud. Fang Yu, your supposedly pregnant true love, was discussing how to steal your last property with another man just last week. Her so-called baby is most likely a crude lie invented to get an engagement gift. The reporters who had pitied Chinkin now looked disgusted. Fang Yu stared at the evidence as if struck by lightning, then turned toward her in disbelief, unable to speak. Chinkin forgot to pretend she was pregnant. Her face went white as she stared at me in terror, as though she were looking at a demon from hell. That's impossible. Those records are fake. You forged them to break us up. Fang Yu, believe me, I really love you. I never betrayed you. If you say they're fake, perfect. I invited the doctor responsible for your examinations. Shall we have him check you in front of everyone and see whether this alleged Fang family baby exists? As soon as I finished, a doctor in a white coat entered with the staff. The moment Chinkin saw him, her defenses collapsed. She screamed, forgot about her heels, and ran for the back exit. But this was my heavily secured event. Security stopped her instantly. Fang Yu looked at Chinkin, then at the undeniable evidence, and finally understood how foolish he had been. For a lying woman, he had broken with the mother who raised him. You liar! You even lied about this! You've ruined my life! You think you're such a prize? If you weren't rich, who would pretend to love that face every day? Now you're broke and can't even afford food, so stop acting like some young master. They started fighting in the middle of the hall. Their so-called true love turned into an ugly scandal the moment the money disappeared. I watched without emotion. They would learn the price of losing everything through their hatred for each other. Security, remove these two people for disrupting the event. Also notify legal to prepare fraud and defamation charges against Ms. Chinkin. As for you, Fang Yu, you chose to leave the Fang family. From now on, not 1 cent and not one opportunity here belongs to you. Learn to face the world alone like an adult. Fang Yu wandered the streets looking destroyed. At an ATM, he tried to withdraw enough for bread, but the screen coldly read, "Card cancelled." He did not have even 1 yuan in cash. His fall from luxury had only begun. Like an abandoned dog, he curled up in the ATM booth, trembling. Hunger blurred his vision. The heir who once refused anything but top-tier Japanese food now wished he could find a moldy piece of bread in the trash. At the edge of despair, a familiar sharp voice sounded from the doorway. It was Chinkin, and she looked just as miserable. Fang Yu, you're hiding here? I was so wrong about you. You made me lose everything. I never want to see you again. Calm down. I have one chance that could put you back on top. The question is whether you're brave enough. There's a safe in your mother's office holding the core data drive for the Mountaintop project. If you get it, someone will pay 30 million yuan. 30 million? Fang Yu's breathing quickened. To him, that number sounded like a lifeline and a chance to be reborn. 30 million? You want me to steal from my own mother? Do you know that's illegal? Your mother threw you out and you still call her family? She'd rather give money to strangers than buy you food. Taking your future inheritance is just reclaiming what's yours. Once we get the money, we'll leave the country and disappear. Do you really want to be a beggar forever? Fang Yu struggled painfully, his mind swinging back and forth. Then a black sedan stopped outside the ATM booth, and a refined-looking man in a black suit stepped out. He was the buyer Chinkin had mentioned, introducing himself as Manager Lin. He walked toward Fang Yu and handed him a specially made business card. Your mother is an exceptional businesswoman, but as a mother, she's cruel. Our company believes in your abilities. Give us one small favor, and this 30 million yuan check is yours. It will solve your problems and fund a better life abroad. Think carefully. Freeze here or take the money and begin a new life with dignity. Every word from Manager Lin cut into Fang Yu's wounded pride. Looking at the card, he remembered my cold expression at the summit. He decided I had abandoned him first, so he no longer owed me loyalty as a son. Fine, I'll do it. But I have one condition. Once I get the money, I leave immediately. No problem. The group's security system will undergo routine maintenance tonight. That's your best chance. This universal access card will bypass every sensor. At 2 in the morning, Fang Yu entered group headquarters in a black hoodie, using an internal elevator credential that had not yet been canceled. He expected heavy resistance, but the building was strangely open. The patrol guards seemed to have vanished, and even the hallway lights stayed dark. His heart pounded hard enough to break his ribs. Following his memory, he reached the chairwoman's office on the top floor, stood before the familiar mahogany door, took a deep breath, and used the access card. The office was silent. Fang Yu walked straight to the hidden safe behind the bookshelf and entered his birthday with trembling fingers. A soft click sounded, and the safe slowly opened. Fang Yu froze. At the moment that could decide his fate, the safe combination was still his birthday. A wave of guilt and conflict flashed through him. Why was it still the same password? Did she actually still care about me? That flicker of guilt lasted less than 3 seconds before memories of hunger and humiliation crushed it completely. He gave a cold laugh, convinced this was just another soft control tactic of mine. You think using my birthday as the code means you can still control me? Too late. Way too late. He yanked the black encrypted drive from the safe. As he turned to leave, he froze in terror. I was standing there, watching his every move with an icy stare. Fang Yu, you still couldn't make it through the final test. If you'd only come in tonight looking for food or sat here and cried, I might have given you one last chance. But you chose the one thing that disappointed me most. You chose to betray your own family and sell your soul with it. Under my stare, cold enough to freeze straight through him, every lie died in his throat. Mom, I was just starving. Chinkin and the others made me do it. They lured me here. Chinkin? That true love of yours has probably already run off with the first payment manager Lin gave her. You really thought he wanted your data? He was just an actor I hired to test whether you had any conscience left. An act? This whole thing was a setup? Why would you do this to me? Why would you destroy your own son? I didn't destroy you. Your bottomless greed and vanity did. You couldn't even spot the most basic corporate espionage trap, yet you wanted to run my 100 billion UN empire? You're the biggest joke on earth. I pressed the office intercom, my voice completely flat. Come in. Hand this trespasser who tried to steal trade secrets over to the police. Mom, I know I was wrong. Please don't send me to jail. Save me this once, and I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. You've had more chances than I can count, Fang Yu. The moment you stepped through that door tonight, the last thread of blood tying us together snapped. Now you can spend your time behind those walls learning what boundaries really mean. Staff forced Fang Yu to the floor. The metallic click of handcuffs around his wrists sounded final. He twisted like a madman, hurling vicious curses at me as if I were the unforgivable villain. You cold-blooded woman. You don't deserve to be a mother. You'll die alone and all your money will turn to worthless paper. I watched without expression as he was dragged from the office, his screams fading down the hallway. Then I picked up the encrypted drive and tossed it into the shredder beside me. There was never any core data on it, only an old video of Fang Yu as a toddler, babbling his first words and chasing after me, calling, Mom. Meanwhile, Chinkin was hiding in an abandoned warehouse by the docks, anxiously waiting for manager Lin. She clutched her so-called first-class ticket and dreamed about the lavish life she'd live overseas. But manager Lin never came. Neither did the 30 million UN check. Instead, a group of stern-faced police officers walked in. What are you doing? I'm the victim here. Fang Yu tricked me into coming. Ms. Chinkin, you're suspected in multiple online scams, contract fraud, and inciting another person to steal trade secrets. You'll need to come with us. The scheme she was so proud of was nothing but a self-dug grave in the face of real power. I sat back down at my desk and watched the sunrise outside. For the first time, I felt completely calm. The trap I'd set to correct one terrible mistake had reached its turning point. Fang Yu and Chinkin would now taste the bitter fruit they had planted themselves, and I was ready to start the second half of my life. There is no such thing as a permanently reserved passenger seat. If you can't respect the driver, get out of the car and learn to walk through the mud on your own. Because the data Fang Yu stole was fake, he and Chinkin were questioned and temporarily released for lack of evidence. Fang Yu had completely lost it. He took their release as a final gift from fate, borrowed money from loan sharks, rented the most luxurious ballroom in the city, and planned an over-the-top engagement party. In front of everyone, he would give Chinkin a 990,000 yuan diamond ring and prove he was still the untouchable heir of the Fang family. That night, the venue was absurdly lavish, rare flowers flown in from overseas and a champagne tower taller than a person. Fang Yu stood at the entrance in a designer suit, checking his watch with a wild, smug look. Chinkin wore an expensive custom gown and the diamond necklace Fang Yu had just bought her. She flaunted them in front of her fake friends, convinced she was finally about to become the young mistress of the Fang family. Look at this diamond. Fang Yu had it custom made just for me. It's worth almost 1 million yen. Chinkin, you're so lucky. Young Master Fang must truly love you. Seriously. We can only afford cheap pieces worth a few tens of thousands. What you're wearing costs more than our allowance for an entire year. Chinkin soaked up the fake praise until her smile nearly spilled off her face. She had completely forgotten her mountain of debt and where Fang Yu's money had really come from. At the height of the party, just as the host announced that Fang Yu would reveal the engagement ring, the hotel's finance manager walked onto the stage with several staff members. He carried a long bill and looked grim. The cheerful music stopped cold. Every guest lowered their glass and turned toward the stage. Mr. Fang, I'm sorry to interrupt. Your deposit has been used up, and our system shows a problem with your payment account. Tonight's drinks and venue costs exceeded the budget. You still owe 500,000 yuan, payable now, or we'll have to stop service. Fang Yu went pale and instinctively pulled out the bank card loaded with the loan shark money. There's still a few 100,000 on this card. Charge it now and I'll cover the rest later. Don't embarrass me tonight. But after several attempts, every transaction failed. I had already tracked the suspicious loan shark funds and used business channels to have them temporarily frozen. Fang Yu stared at the machine, flashing error after error. All the strength drained from him as sweat rolled down his forehead. What is wrong with this hotel? This is the Fang family heir and you're saying his card has no money. Your machine must be broken. Get another one. Ma'am, the machine is fine. Mr. Fang's card is restricted. If the 500,000 yuan isn't paid immediately, we'll have to ask the guest to leave. Whispers spread through the ballroom. The laughter and gossip grew louder, and Fang Yu felt every stare stabbing into him like a needle. At his most humiliating moment, the ballroom doors slowly opened. I walked in wearing a custom power suit, surrounded by senior assistants. Every measured click of my heels seemed to land directly on Fang Yu and Qinkin's nerves. I stepped to the center of the stage and took a folder from my assistant. Looks like that borrowed blood money of yours couldn't even pay for one fake fairy tale banquet. Everyone, sorry you had to witness this. Tonight isn't just their engagement party, it's also the moment I clean out the rot inside my company. I waved my hand and the giant screen lit up. Their romantic photos vanished, replaced by screenshots of Qinkin's debts across more than a dozen lending apps, each one marked overdue in red, with a terrifying total. This woman's real name is Wang Kuihua. She comes from a remote rural area and is no elite school socialite. For 3 years, she used fake degrees and identities to run high-end romance scams. She currently has 38 unpaid online loans. She even took out illegal loans through cosmetic clinics. Qinkin lunged toward the screen, but staff held her back. You're lying! You made all of this up! You're just trying to destroy me! Fake or not, this education verification report will tell us. Fang Yu, this is the true love you sold company data to protect. I threw the officially stamped report at Fang Yu's feet. He picked it up with shaking hands, read the verified findings, and looked as if he'd fallen into an ice pit. He had believed Qinkin was his soulmate, a goddess who would save him. Only now did he realize she was a vampire trying to drag him into hell with her. And one more thing, Fang Yu, the loan you took is now frozen for suspected illegal fundraising. The lender's collection team will be here within 5 minutes. Fang Yu, for a woman like this, you personally destroyed your final way out. The guests gasped and backed away, afraid even standing near the two scammers would bring trouble. Fang Yu looked at me with raw disbelief. Mom, you win. You're ruthless. You watched me walk straight into the pit and never once reached out a hand. You chose the road yourself. I warned you. Anyone who disrespects the driver must learn how to crawl through the mud. Just then, chaotic footsteps and shouting erupted outside. Several tattooed men stormed into the ballroom carrying clubs, their faces hard. They were the loan company's collectors. Fang Yu, you've got nerve. You took our money and came here playing the big shot. Pay up now or things are going to get ugly. The moment Qinkin saw them, all her swagger vanished. Terrified, she shoved Fang Yu toward the men without hesitation, lifted her skirt, and bolted for the back exit. He borrowed the money. It has nothing to do with me. Go after him. One of the men grabbed Fang Yu by the collar. As he watched Qinkin flee, the last bit of light in his eyes went out. The collectors didn't care that they were inside a luxury hotel. Guests who had been eager to flatter the Fang family ran faster than rabbits, desperate to avoid the mess. From the second-floor balcony, I watched the farce unfold. Fang Yu frantically searched for Qinkin, only to realize the woman who had just promised to grow old with him had already slipped into the kitchen corridor. Qinkin didn't just run. Before leaving, she swiped the 990,000 yuan engagement ring from the table and stuffed it into her purse. Qinkin, you can't leave me! Come back! Help me! Young Master Fang, you'd better worry about yourself. Your little girlfriend ran fast, but you're not going anywhere. I really don't have the money. The principal plus penalties comes to 1 million yuan. If you can't pay today, we'll handle it our way. Fang Yu collapsed to the floor. Every ounce of pride and vanity he had was crushed in that moment. Just as the collectors were about to drag him away, the polished manager Lin returned with several men in black. He carried a thick contract and wore a sinister smile. Young Master Fang, you thought stealing that data was just part of an act? You personally signed a confidentiality and damages agreement. The drive you gave me was full of garbage, and our overseas acquisition failed because of it. Under the contract, you now owe our company 30 million yuan in international breach penalties. 30 million? Impossible! My mom said it was her setup. There was nothing on that drive. Your mother's setup is her business. The contract you signed is real. Even if she wants to save you, our company gets the final say on that 30 million. Only then did Fang Yu realize he hadn't just fallen into my trap. He had stepped into a carefully built legal snare. The overseas company behind Manager Lin had been eyeing the Fang assets for years and used Fang Yu's greed to take a bite out of my empire. Fang Yu looked up at me in terror, silently begging. Mom, save me. They want 30 million. They'll ruin me. I know I was wrong. I'll never do it again. Fang Yu, if you had the nerve to betray the company, you should have the nerve to face the consequences. You signed for that 30 million yuan debt. It has nothing to do with me or the group. Security, remove everyone disturbing the peace. As for Fang Yu, he's an adult. He can handle his own debt dispute. At my order, hotel security rushed in. They threw the collectors out of the ballroom and dumped Fang Yu outside with them. He tried to stop a car, but not one driver would pull over. Just as despair set in, a black van screeched to a stop. The door slid open, several tattooed men shoved him inside, and the van disappeared. Meanwhile, Qinkin hid in a cheap motel with the ring. She eagerly pulled it from her purse, but under the light, its brilliant sparkle vanished. It was nothing more than the cheapest imitation diamond. It's fake! Fang Yu, you tricked me with a fake ring! What she didn't know was that Manager Lin had quietly taken most of Fang Yu's 1 million yuan loan in fees. The little money left couldn't buy a ring anywhere near that level. As Qinkin packed to run again, the motel door was kicked open, Enforcers from the international debt company had tracked her down. Wang Suihua, Fang Yu says you have the ring. It's collateral for the 30 million yuan debt. Hand it over or you'll regret it. The ring is fake! Go ask him for the money, leave me alone! Real or fake, you'll come with us and we'll find out. She screamed and begged, but no one came to save her. At the same time, Fang Yu was being held in a locked room. Manager Lin sat across from him with a transfer agreement. Young Master Fang, since your mother won't pay the 30 million, you'll have to settle it another way. You may not have money, but you're still the Fang heir. Sign this statement saying your mother is mentally unfit to run the company and will erase the remaining debt. You want me to frame my mother? Never. I haven't lost every last bit of humanity. Think carefully. Does your mother lose the company, or do you spend the rest of your life permanently disabled? Fang Yu's defenses collapsed again. Under extreme fear and pain, what little conscience he had disappeared. His hand shook as he picked up the pen and prepared to sign. Just before the pen touched paper, the basement door burst open. Police stormed in and restrained Manager Lin and his men. We've received a report of unlawful detention and contract fraud. Everyone is coming with us. Seeing the police, Fang Yu burst into tears, thinking he was finally saved. Then an officer showed him an arrest warrant too. Fang Yu, you're suspected of working with others to steal trade secrets. The data was fake, but your intent may still constitute a crime. Come with us for questioning. When Fang Yu was led out of the basement, he could barely stand. Looking at the sky, he realized life in the mud might never end. He had sacrificed everything for Qingqian and ended up buried in debt and facing prison. Meanwhile, the mother he kept accusing of never understanding him sat in her office preparing for a new chapter for the company. I was on my way to a charity gala when the police called. When they told me Fang Yu and Manager Lin had both been arrested, I simply said, "Understood. Chairwoman, are you really going to ignore the 30 million yuan penalty young Master Fang owes? The contract itself may be illegal. The courts will decide. Fang Yu doesn't need to learn how to pay off debt. He needs to learn how to take responsibility for every choice he makes." He wanted distance from me. Fine. Let's take that distance all the way. At the detention center, Fang Yu saw Qingqian behind another set of bars. There was no trace of their old tenderness, only endless blame and hatred. You ruined me. Without you, I'd still be the Fang family heir. If you hadn't been rich, I wouldn't have even looked at you. By then, I was already aboard a private jet to Geneva, heading there for a new investment and a little time by the lake. Fang Yu and Qingqian's circus was officially over for me. In my world, no passenger seat is reserved forever. Only when you learn to stand on your own and value the people who truly care about you do you earn your way back beside the driver. Half a month later, Fang Yu received a prison sentence for attempted theft of trade secrets and related debt offenses. Qingqian was convicted on multiple fraud charges and received an even longer sentence. In that cold place, they'd have plenty of time to think about what boundaries really mean. I sat by Lake Geneva, looking at the snow-covered mountains in the distance. For the first time, I felt completely at peace. The Fang fortune would go to children who truly needed help and knew how to be grateful. And I had finally removed the chains of motherhood and started a journey of my own. No one can pay your bills forever. If you choose to fall, the abyss is the only destination left. Inside the detention center, a heavy iron door slammed shut. Fang Yu sat in an interrogation chair wearing a prison uniform, his right hand wrapped in thick bandages. The injury from the loan shark enforcers was permanent. Minutes earlier, he had signed a confession dozens of pages long and admitted what he'd done. To raise the 30 million yuan penalty, he had broken into the company again and tried to steal the real core data. He thought it was another problem his mother could fix. Instead, it became the final judgment that destroyed him. I sat behind the thick soundproof glass, staring coldly at the monster I'd raised. My assistant handed me a legal report on Manager Lin and the international company behind him. Fang Yu kept searching the room with swollen eyes, desperate for freedom. When he spotted me, he went wild, hammering on the soundproof glass despite the handcuffs. "Mom, you finally came. I knew you wouldn't really abandon me. Tell the police Manager Lin lured me into all of this. I'm the victim. I never got the 30 million. They tricked me." I couldn't hear Fang Yu through the glass, but I could read every shameless excuse on his lips. I slowly picked up the phone and spoke with a calm I'd never felt before. "Fang Yu, even now you're blaming everyone else. Do you really think a corporate spy like Manager Lin would value someone who can't even read a financial statement?" "Mom, what do you mean? Are you saying Manager Lin was working for you too?" "He wasn't working for me. But he reached you so easily because I removed every security barrier. Fang Yu, I gave you one final chance. If you'd turned back after taking the fake drive, if you'd stopped when you saw the safe code was still your birthday, you'd be sitting by Lake Geneva right now instead of here. Impossible, you're lying. You wouldn't risk a project worth tens of millions just to test me. Was the 30 million yuan penalty fake too? The 30 million was real, so was the contract. But 1 minute before you signed, my legal team formally stripped you of every legal right as the Fang heir. That contract was your personal debt from the very beginning. Fang Yu, for that gold digger, you personally signed away your own life. The strength seemed to drain from Fang Yu's bones. He slumped in the chair, pointing at me with a trembling hand. He tried to curse, but no sound came. At last he understood. His so-called comeback had been an execution prepared for him from the start. Then the interrogation room door opened again. Officers brought in Qingqian. filthy, disheveled, and shaking in a prison uniform. Every trace of her socialite arrogance was gone. Fang Yu made me do it. He said his mother was rich and he insisted on buying me the ring. I'm just an innocent girl he fooled. I didn't know Manager Lin was a corporate spy. Please let me go. I have huge online debts. I can't go to prison. Hearing Qingqian rewrite the story, Fang Yu's last bit of guilt exploded into rage. You told me Manager Lin would pay us. You taught me how to break into the safe. Without you, I'd still be the Fang heir, the powerful Fang Yu everyone respected. If you were so capable, how did your mother strip you down to nothing? You're a spoiled mama's boy. Without her, you're nobody. They tore into each other in front of the police with no limits left. Their promises of eternal love, boundaries, and devotion collapsed into a pathetic mess. As I watched their ugly performance, the last trace of affection in me faded. This was who they really were. Greedy, selfish, and completely shameless. An officer slammed the table and stopped the ridiculous shouting. We will now read the charges. Qingqian, also known as Wang Kuihua, you are suspected in multiple serial fraud cases and of inciting the theft of trade secrets involving an enormous sum. Fang Yu, you are suspected of stealing trade secrets. The evidence is sufficient and a formal case has been opened. Fang Yu collapsed to the floor. Mom, are you really going to be this heartless? I'm your only biological son. Do you truly want to watch me die in prison? I stopped, looked back at the useless man still making one last desperate struggle, and gave a faint smile. Fang Yu, you're 26. You once told me the front passenger seat belonged to your girlfriend and even your mother needed to keep her distance. Since you love distance so much, I'll make it complete. Everyone is equal before the law. As Chairwoman Fang, I must help the police remove a threat from my company. As your mother, I fulfilled every duty before you became an adult. Now learn independence and your precious boundaries inside. I stepped out of the detention center and felt the air was fresher than ever. My assistant came forward and held a black umbrella over me. Chairwoman, the court has accepted the case. Based on the current charges, Fang Yu is likely facing at least 5 years. Wang Kuihua may get 15. That's where they belong. Tell finance to list my Yunding villa for sale and donate every yuan to a charity for low-income students. That place is stained. I never want to return. Understood. Should we move your Geneva trip forward? Move it up. There's nothing here worth missing anymore. This drama has lasted long enough. It's time I enjoyed some peace of my own. I sat in the back of my Rolls-Royce and watched the detention center shrink behind the window. Fang Yu's wails and Qingqian's screams stayed sealed inside that cold world. I closed my eyes and remembered Fang Yu as a toddler, taking his first unsteady steps into my arms and calling me Mom. Back then, his eyes were still completely innocent. When had that innocence been corrupted by the mountain of wealth I built for him? Maybe I gave him so much that he thought everything was his by right. If I fed him the wrong lessons growing up, then I had to take them back myself. Destroying his delusion was the last lesson I could teach as his mother. The price was 30 million yuan and 5 years of freedom. Expensive, yes, but if it showed him how the world really works, it was worth it. Back at the detention center, Fang Yu and Qingqian were returned to separate cells. Fang Yu curled up on the hard bunk, listening to the other inmates' mocking laughter and staring at his disabled right hand. He remembered throwing money around in the mansion and finally understood. The luxury car's passenger seat was never a throne. It was a shelter his mother built with half a lifetime of blood and sweat, and he had blown it up himself. Meanwhile, I arrived at the private terminal. A huge jet waited in the sunset. Wearing sunglasses, I climbed the stairs and looked back at the noisy city. At 30,000 feet, my life would finally reset and begin again. The names Fang Yu and Qingqian would disappear from my world forever, reduced to one sealed-away piece of trash memory. A hint of sandalwood filled the cabin. I leaned into a wide leather seat with a vintage wine in hand. The engines hummed as we flew toward a distant shore, clouds rolling beneath the sunset like the rise and fall of my business empire. The trial half a month earlier had finally ended the absurd circus. Before I left, the legal director handed me a thick closing report describing the final outcomes for those two clowns. Fang Yu was sentenced to 5 years for stealing trade secrets and major contract fraud. The young master who once demanded imported designer water now curled up inside a cold, narrow prison cell. Loan shark enforcers had permanently damaged his right hand, leaving him unable to work normally. He faced hard labor, ridicule, and bullying. In a place ruled by survival, the rich kid identity he once flaunted became his most dangerous weakness. He once thought losing access to the front passenger seat was unfair. Only after losing freedom and his mother's protection did he learn he could barely control his own survival. Qingqian, whose real name was Wang Kuihua, faced an even worse ending. Convicted in multiple major serial fraud cases, she received 15 years. Her designer bags and custom jewelry, bought through loans and scams, were seized to repay debts. Without expensive skincare and cosmetic treatments, the face she was so proud of quickly began to wither. She also faced huge claims from the international company and might not see life outside for many years. That was the price of trying to scam her way into high society. I swirled the wine in my glass as my assistant gave me the latest update. Chairwoman, the Yunding Villa has sold for 68 million when, after taxes, every cent was transferred to your charitable education trust for students from low-income families. Fang Yu's luxury cars and private collection have also been auctioned. The proceeds will support children who understand gratitude. Good. Review the foundation's rules carefully. I want this money to help hardworking young people with principles, not create another ungrateful parasite. I set down my wine and looked outside. The mansion that had witnessed Fang Yu's downfall and betrayal was gone, along with every rotten memory attached to it. I sold the house and dissolved every Fang family trust. Every hour Fang Yu spent in prison would now depend on his own work. I would not spend a single extra yuan making his life easier. On the day of sentencing, Fang Yu sent a 1,000-word apology through his lawyer. He begged me to save him for his late father's sake and promised to serve me for life if released. I never opened the envelope. I had my assistant shred it. It was harsh, but it was the final clear decision of someone responsible for an entire empire. I had spent 20 years watering a poisonous flower that nearly killed the whole garden. At last, I pulled the weed out myself. The jet cruised high above the clouds. My assistant opened a tablet showing the private estate I'd bought in Switzerland. Snowy mountains, clear lakes, and the peace I'd wanted all my life. I was leaving the scheming city behind for a life that belonged only to me. From today on, Fang Yu's name no longer exists in my world. Do not report anything about him to me again. Understood, Chairwoman. When we land, is our first stop the local education project? No. First, I'm sitting by the lake, drinking the best champagne in the sun. It's time I learned how to be an ordinary person who puts herself first. Half a month later, I sat beside Lake Geneva. A cool breeze carried the scent of water and flowers. Young people practiced sailing in the distance, their eyes full of hope. This was what life should look like, alive and moving forward. I took out my phone and looked one last time at the passenger seat photo I'd blacklisted. The arrogant woman and weak son in it had already faded into strangers. I tapped delete permanently. The front passenger seat was never a girlfriend's private throne. It was a place the driver offered to someone trusted and loved. Since they didn't deserve that trust, they could learn to walk through the mud alone. I stood up as the sunset stretched my shadow across the ground, solitary but strong. On foreign soil, my life had finally completed its most beautiful transformation. A year later, my charity foundation officially launched back home. The children we supported sent photos of their bright, innocent smiles. Seeing them gave me more fulfillment than buying Fang Yu a limited edition sports car ever had. I would use this fortune to light the way for lost young people, not feed one greedy monster. The last clouds faded from the sky. I raised my glass toward the bright crescent moon over the lake, to the family love I'd lost, and to the free life still ahead. Moonlight shimmered across the water. The second half of my life had finally begun, and every betrayal and humiliation had become a stepping stone toward a new beginning. From now on, my passenger seat belongs to me, or to someone who truly respects and cherishes me. That is what real boundaries look like, and it's the deepest lesson I can leave the world.